What frustrates me is that when you go to companies and you are honest like yourself, is they get greedy. And they either say, well, since you've asked, I'm going to open up the door so you can give me more. And I understand that that's the way the business works, right? You have to pay your dues. And I think, our generation and younger, we're more take, less give. Whereas our parents were all give and we'll take what's given to us. And then by the end of it, you were rewarded with a promotion or with a pay rise or with whatever. We're not. Yeah. We want it and we want it now. So we'll go there. And if they say, oh, well, you need to do this, and that. Yes, okay, I'll do that. No, I'll go somewhere else.
Welcome to More Than Money with your host, Ross Murray. This episode of More Than Money is brought to you by More Time Financial, a financial planning company who are on a mission to help young Australians make smarter decisions with money by providing real-life financial advice, coaching, and financial education.
Welcome back to the More Than Money podcast. I'm your host, Ross Murray, and today I have with me, which I think we can now call you a part-time or official co-host of the More Than Money podcast.
A co-host?
I think you've progressed. Number 3. We're back for number 3.
Pleasure doing business with you.
Well done. Thanks for being on. So that's Mr. Snira Nathan, who has now your 3rd episode on the More Than Money podcast. If you want to know more about him, or more about you, I guess, jump back to listen to that initial episode we did, which is all about you. A couple of episodes ago, we did all about superannuation, which I think you found useful.
Very.
And on today's episode, what we want to talk about was navigating job change. So I put this down as a life event. So we know that typically from age 25 to 35 to 40, we experience 5 to 10 of the biggest life events that we're ever going to experience. Marriage, kids, buying homes, divorces, all that kind of fun stuff. But one of those ones that is constant, or not constant, but potentially can happen in that time frame as well, or more than likely going to happen in that time frame, is job change. Now, the reason I wanted to have you on to assist with this episode is I think you've had, or I know for a fact, you've had a lot more jobs than I have.
Yeah.
But I guess recently, or over the last span of 2 years, you've had quite a few different jobs, part-time, those types of things. Obviously, we spoke about COVID during the superannuation episode, how you're affected by that.
Yes.
So I thought you would be a suitable co-host to talk about the topic of job change.
Thank you. The honour is all mine. Hopefully I'm an example of what not to do, but if my experience can help anyone's learning, then yes. No, I can definitely help you with this one.
Excellent.
For sure.
So what I was thinking to cover off on today was 3 major topics, 3 major areas was preparing for that job change, the navigating the hiring kind of process or the starting of the new job process, and then the transition. So thinking about, from my side, talk about the financial side, what I think I've seen people do well or not do well when they are making that transition, just planning ahead a little bit. So those are the main 3 topics I wanted to cover off on today.
Absolutely.
So the first one is that job change. So what I guess a good place to start would be was give us a brief history of your jobs. What have you done?
How long have you got? How long is this episode? I'll be honest with you, I've always been privileged to work. And I think to make it relevant, if I go back 8 years ago in 2014, I started working for Hilton Worldwide, which is probably the leading hotel chain in the world at this stage. Started a job as a casual porter at the Hilton Surfers Paradise here on the Gold Coast. I was there for 8 years. During that time, I also picked up a secondary job as a table games dealer at the Star Casino, to which I still work today. Alongside that, I branched off into other side hustles or side businesses such as sports commentary, mainly MMA and boxing, and then going into business with yourself, starting a podcast and learning more about other financial avenues. But the 2 main jobs that I've had over the past, I would say 8 years, would be working in concierge in the hospitality industry and as a table games dealer in the gaming industry.
Yep.
For 6 months, when I graduated university, I worked for SeaWorld Cruises for 6 months as the Director of Sales and Marketing. For SeaWorld Cruises, mainly taking care of the whale watching cruises, lunch cruises, anything that you see out on the seaway, those big SeaWorld Cruises boats, the whale watching boats. I was pretty much the main guy to take care of the on-road sales and ensuring that our retail made us the number 1 choice for whale watching, water cruise activities, so on and so forth. So you could say over the past 8 years, I've had anywhere between 3 to 5 jobs consistently.
Yeah.
Is that a lot?
I think if you look at the span of someone's, like there's the 2, like the jobs and then there's career jobs as well. So I think like the stats say that you typically have 2 to 3 careers, different careers in a lifetime. But I know what's happening now a lot in the workforce is that the job span of people staying at a job, whether that's a career or just a part, like whatever we're going to call it, is like a maximum 12 months. Like It's something crazy that people are just staying, not even staying 12 months and then chopping and changing jobs. Whereas historically, talking about our parents, they had 1, maybe 2 jobs, like actual career jobs in their lifetime. Whereas now, I guess people our age and younger, it's just chopping and changing.
We don't want it. We don't want the stability.
Don't want to,
We don't want the stability. We're addicted to stress.
Yeah.
You could probably even throw in there, I do have my security license and I've worked casually as a security guard at different venues. So it probably takes it to four jobs consistently over the past 8 years. And I've chopped and changed between all of them over that period of time. Yeah, it's...
So that, I think speaking a little while ago about that most recent job when you worked the Robina job.
Yes.
So how long ago was that?
That was 1 month ago.
1 month ago.
1 month ago.
So if you think about that experience, what was preparing for that job change? I would assume that you needed some extra work or you wanted another. What was the process that you went through? Was it just jump on Seek, jump on LinkedIn? And again, asking these questions because my experience has been, I worked at high school, I worked all the way through university doing multiple jobs, working as a pool table technician was the fancy topic, the fancy title. Delivery pizzas, did all that kind of jobs, but then got a career job working for AMP was my main thing out of university. So the biggest financial planning company in Australia today. I'm not 100% sure, but it definitely was. And then started the business. So for the past 7 odd years, I haven't had another job. So you're definitely more qualified in that aspect. But so looking for this new job, what was the avenue you went through to find it?
The job came about during Christmas, so they were looking for Christmas casuals. Okay. And I had applied on Seek. My profile's up on Seek. It's been up there for ages, and I get text messages all the time, work available. So what happened was I applied for this job on Seek, forgot about it, and then about a month later got a message from the manager of the security company saying, hey, listen, if you're still interested in working for our company, please reply with yes. So I just said, yep, I'm keen for some Christmas cash. I just left I was working security at the Hilton at the time and concierge, bouncing between two. I just left that job / got fired after 8 years from the Hilton Surfers Paradise. So I did need a bit of extra pocket money coming up to Christmas. And they just reached out to me because I put my name in the hat a month earlier looking for a job on Seek.
Yep.
So they reached out to me, pulled me in for an interview. I felt that I interviewed quite well, and that was reflective in them obviously giving me the job and to come in for training. And this was probably about 3 months ago.
Okay. And what are the typical things you look for when you are thinking about looking for a new job? Was it just give me whatever's available, or were you strategic in terms of saying, that looks like a good job, that one pays the most? What are you looking for?
See, at 31, looking for a new job today, I am very fussy. I am looking for, one would be the money. I think when I first started at the Hilton Surfers Paradise, I was so afraid to ask how much would I be getting paid or how much is this. I had no idea. I was just, a slave to the company. And that's just how I said, I come to work, I take my money. Whereas today, what I find is I certainly do want an outline of one, what are the type of hours I'm going to be working? Going to be night shift? Is it going to be day shift? Am I going to have to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and expected to lift crates or escort homeless people off private premises or deal cards? What hours am I going to be working? What duties am I expected to fulfill while I'm on shift?
Because I assume in that the job description doesn't always fully explain that.
Never.
I assume it gives you the highlights.
Never. Oh.
And then there's other, the expectations that weren't particularly in the job advert.
I guarantee you that of all the bullet points that you see on a Seek application, there's about 50 others that aren't written down there that are expected, and they make it known to you on your first day.
Interesting.
Or if they don't, they make it known to you very quickly.
Would that be in the if you found your experience?
Never.
Is it in the employment contract?
Never in there. I was doing things at the Hilton that weren't in my contract 8 years ago that I found myself doing before the day I left. Never. And I'm not going to go down the road of what companies saying one thing and doing another.
Yeah.
But through my own experience, I've learned that I need to be accountable for that. So if I've got my own standards set, and I'm talking about a security job here, this isn't.
No, but I think
being
it's
a CEO.
I think
right?
I think it's applicable because what you're on the advert versus 3 months in, you're like, wait a minute, I'm doing all these extra roles and responsibilities that maybe I'm overqualified, underqualified, shouldn't be doing, not getting paid for, all those things. So I think that raises a good point.
One of them's overtime. Right, one of them's overtime. It wasn't even in the contract, but the general consensus or the culture was that you will be expected to work overtime and not be paid for it. It's illegal, Ross. It's illegal.
I had
all right?
a similar experience. My cousin moved from South Africa to here.
Yeah.
And he called me a couple of months into his job. He said, my contract says that I'm getting paid for 38 hours a week. He said, I'm currently working 50. And he said, is that normal? Should I raise that with someone? And I was like, again, he's like, it's the culture.
Yep.
It's the expectation that you work overtime. He's like, but I'm not getting paid for it. He's like, this doesn't make sense.
No.
He's like, I'm getting paid 38, but I'm expected to work 50. It's like, where's that line drawn? Which I think there is that element of you do a little bit extra, you go that extra mile. But like, how far do you take that?
But that's probably the one word of advice that I'm probably qualified to give is that if you are looking for a new job, the preparation that you need to make is to make sure that you know your expectations and what you want. Because don't go in there saying, oh, I'm ready to work, I'm ready to do this, I'll do whatever you want. Man, they will give you plenty to do. They will give you plenty to do.
Yeah.
But if you go in there and say, I'm only available Monday to Thursday, this is a casual job for me, these are my hours, this is what I expect to do. And if you rock up on the first 2 days of training, and as a security officer, you're packing shelves or mopping floors, or your roster says 9 to 5, but you're expected to stay till 7 for drinks afterwards. If you want to, that's fine. But you got to set your boundaries early, because as an employee of so many companies that they won't say anything. So if you're preparing to look for a new job, and this is probably why I haven't worked many other jobs other than in the past year or so, because I know if I go to another company, I'm starting at the bottom.
Yeah.
So if I go there with my mindset of this is what I'm prepared to do, if we're willing to have an agreement, we can do that. Otherwise, if you're going to give me all the fine print plus what's in my contract and not pay me for it, we're going to have to part ways, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So that'll be my one word of advice. Set your boundaries, know your expectations.
No, definitely. I think, I guess from the legal side of thing, or what I've seen in the past, working with business owners that are employing people, my suggestion is always have that job description. Have a clear job description, because we go through it with, I guess, my clients, like, hey, I want to put someone on. It's like, okay, what are you going to get them to do? Get that clear job description.
Yep.
And because I said, if I was an employee, I'd be asking that question. Say, okay, what are my job descriptions?
Yep.
What am I meant to do? How long is it meant to take? What do you want from me? Versus I'll just come in and do anything, which you said. So
Totally. But that's the attitude as a young person.
Yeah.
18 to, I'd say, 22, I'll do anything. I just need the money. I'll stay half an hour every day. You don't have to. As soon as that clock hits 5 o'clock, 10 o'clock, ping, I'm gone. I'll tell you where you're going. Go on home. Catch you later.
Time's up. Yeah.
Time's up. Yeah, know your expectations. And I think that only comes through experience, because I didn't have this knowledge when I was
right.
young.
I think that's, as you said, like that young expectation, first job, you probably don't have the confidence that if you think, if I speak up or if I ask about overtime, or I might get fired. Do you think that's changed, or what's your experience been for maybe in the last 6, 12 months versus when you, let's say maybe 3, 4 years ago?
Yeah.
Do you think that job market's changed where you maybe have more power? Because I know right now, like the shortage of staff is rampant. People just can't, especially hospitality and things that since COVID, people just can't find those jobs. Obviously, there's the university and the students coming back from COVID, so that was an issue. So do you think that power's swayed a little bit to the employee, where you have a bit more power to negotiate? Or not?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that it's a great day to be an employee. And for me, I've had the privilege of not just being an employee, but having managerial duties as a supervisor. I was never a manager of a department, but I was at one stage concierge supervisor, security supervisor. So I wasn't privy to all the information inside the boardroom, but I did have some sort of an idea, and you just see it. Guys would come in to a job, they'd last 3 months, and then another job would come up that's offering better money, better hours, and they just go. Especially in the hospitality industry. And this is probably something I can talk for hours about, because I've spent so many hours inside the walls of a hotel. COVID really hurt the hospitality industry in the sense that, one, like you said, all the uni students, all the ones that had the service-based jobs had to go home. So there's no one to make the coffees, no one to carry the bags, no one to check the guests in. They're all gone, so they had to pull from the local talent here on the Gold Coast or in Brisbane, or they were even flying guys up from Sydney to work because there was just such a shortage. What you saw during that time, especially coming out of COVID, me being the main culprit, 6 months of JobKeeper, my confidence was sky high. I can get a job tomorrow. I don't have to listen to you. I can come back, I can work my own hours, I can do whatever I want, and you have to deal with it because you need me. Is that the right attitude? No, it's not. And that attitude is slowly dying away because things are picking up now.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a greater appreciation for your line workers, especially in the hospitality industry, in the sense that there is such a high demand for qualified staff. Now, you can go and get anyone off the street who's 18 years of age and say, do this, do that, and they'll do it, and you can pay them $18 an hour or whatever the minimum wage is. That's fine. But what companies are looking for, and this is what I was looking for as a supervisor, someone that's willing to bring a bit of themselves to work. Character, personality, initiative, a positive attitude, and someone that can have the attitude of, you know what, I'm going to give this an actual go. I'm not just here for the money. I'm not just here to take the piss, which is what I was there for most of the time. But I think as an employee and as a leader now, with the current climate, I think from both sides, as a supervisor, I'd be training someone to say, look, we're going to give you what you want, but this is what I expect from you.
Yeah.
And as an employee, tell me what you want, and this is what I'm going to give you. I think if we just have those conversations, we're going to get along.
That's the hard part.
Yeah.
I'll do it. Yep. As you say, I'll do anything.
Yeah.
That type of thing makes it hard. And the lying that happens in the interview. Because when you go for an interview, you just say whatever, you give the resume, you take off the jobs, or maybe don't put the references you don't want people to call.
Totally.
So there's this whole, again, coming from the employer side, hiring staff, it's so hard because at what point do you find out that actual true information? Because no one's going to be honest.
No.
Hardly be honest in the interview process.
Exactly.
So it's challenging from both sides because you want, as you said, if everyone is just open, honest, say, these are the hours, this is when I can work, this is when I get paid, this is what I'm willing to do, not willing to do, it'll be a very quick call. You're not suitable. We want someone different.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming. Bye. But it's hard for both parts because, as you said, it swings of
Yeah.
powers in the employer's hand, then it swings back to the employee's hand, and then, as you said, right now it's in a bit of a mix.
It's a constant balancing act.
Yeah.
And again, being on both sides, mainly as an employer, but as a supervisor, I did have the privilege of interviewing people. And I knew they were lying. I lied. It's one of those things. But at the end of the day, there is a bit of give and take. So as a supervisor, I'd say, all right, what are your expectations from the job? Or what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And they give me the textbook answers. And then I just close the book and go, mate, listen, this is what I need, right? You've told me what you need. This is what I need. And then you have the conversation. So again, going back to your question of preparing to change jobs, have your expectations of what you want, but at the same time, realize that there are expectations that the company is going to have from you. And if you don't fulfill them, mate, you'll end up like me. You'll be gone.
Yeah.
So
Interesting. Okay.
great time to be an employee though.
Yeah. I guess that kind of fills into the next topic, which is navigating that hiring process or the application process. So I guess there's a side of actually going to interviews and things, which we won't really worry too much about today. But the thing I found interesting in my experience of this was I moved to Brisbane. So I finished university, couldn't find a financial planning job straight away. So I moved to Brisbane and then I was interviewing or trying to get a financial planning job. I just picked up a casual job. I was working, I think it was for like an education company, basically just low level admin, nothing special. But when I went to apply for the job, I was reluctant to tell my current employer that I was looking for other work because then I thought I'd get fired. I'd moved out of home. Obviously I needed the job.
Yeah.
So I was reluctant to tell them and to be honest with them, which I'm a very honest person. But so this kind of bit me in the ass a little bit where they had sat us all down. Look, this is the direction the company's going in. We want people here work for long term. We know you're casual right now. What's your future direction? What do you want to be doing? And first kind of office job out of university, I was honest. I was like, look, this is a casual job for me. Like I'm currently looking for financial planning jobs that I studied for 4 years. This is what I'm looking for. I'm here casual. The pay is good. As soon as the job comes, I'm gone.
Yeah.
And they pretty much turned around the next day and were like, all right, great. We said you can work 8 hours. We're only giving you 5. And I was like,
So they did turn on you.
they turned on me. And I was like, I was as honest as I could possibly be, which then bit me in the ass. So then we had a change of management. They came down pretty much 2 months later. I was still looking for work. And change of management, they sat us the same thing, sat us all down. This is what we want from you. We're looking to make people full time. What's your direction? What are you thinking? And I was like, fuck you. I was honest last time and you pretty much stiffed me. So I was like, yep, I'm here long term. Like I'm willing to work.
You drank the Kool-Aid.
I was like, I'm willing to work. I want to be here long term, etc., etc. Like, great, here's more hours. And and I was doing the best job I could. And then I found a job and I was like, hey, I'm leaving. And they were like, what? I was like, you stitched me up last time. I'm like, what do you want to do here?
Yeah.
But the interesting part of that was the hiring process, which I still remember. The job I was working at, call center kind of admin job, very casual, just wear whatever you want to work. But then I was applying for financial planning jobs in the city for a big financial planning company, suit and tie, 6 kind of rounds of interviews, very corporate process to go through for the job. And I didn't want to tell them that I was looking for work, but I always had to go for interviews at lunchtime. So I'd wear my casual clothes to the office because I couldn't walk up in a suit.
No.
Everyone would be like, what are you doing? Wear my casual clothes to the office. And then at lunchtime, run to my car, put my suit on, and then run across town to the interview, sit down and interview, half an hour interview, great, cool. run back to my car, get changed in my casual clothes, and then go back to work.
Yeah.
I still remember the one day they had like casual Friday, which was like even more casual than we were. But I had a job interview that day. And I just wore like my slacks and a long sleeve shirt. They're like, oh, it's casual Friday. I was like, oh, I must have forgotten. My bad. It's all good.
How many interviews did you have on these casual Fridays?
That was
Several.
It was a tough one. But I think, that hiring process, I think it's an interesting one because it's, figuring out the time. If you're working full time, then when do you schedule in the time if you are looking for another job?
Yeah.
Because there is, and we'll get to this in a second, is that managing that transition period of starting and stopping, or stopping and starting a new job.
Yeah.
But I don't know, what's your experience been? Have you been at jobs while still looking for other work?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll share this one with you.
On Seek at lunchtime?
Oh, mate, I was on Seek for 8 hours while I was at the Hilton. Look, and I'll share a bit of my experience. My experience at the Hilton was mainly positive, but the one thing that always bothered me was the people that I was working with. Loved the job, loved the customer service side of it, but for whatever reason, you've known me for almost 20 years now. I don't necessarily like doing what I'm told, which is kind of part of your job, do what you're told, but for whatever reason, I just wasn't getting on with my bosses. And part of the hiring process for our company at the time was we would have what was called internal applications. And I wasn't getting on with my boss at the time in security. And I went to HR and I said, hey, look, listen, I think there's other jobs for me elsewhere as a supervisor in front office or as a...
Internally.
Internally. And this is probably the best story I can share. It ties in with preparing for another job. And I sat down with the director of HR and I said to him, I said, look, I know I have the skills, communication-wise, attitude-wise, I'm savvy on the computers, guest service, I've got all these skills, but you are pigeonholing me in a basement in security, escorting homeless people off our property, dealing with drunk teenagers at 2:00 in the morning when I want to be at home with my daughter. What do I need to do in order to get a sales role, in order to get a reservations role? I was looking for anything and everything just to get out of there. And his response was, you need to be who your boss wants you to be. And I was like, no, I don't want to. But the reason I share that is because when you're honest with companies or when you're honest with your co-workers, you're always going to ruffle some feathers. At the interview process, you're never honest, right? We've established that you're never honest. But as time goes on, you will have to be yourself and you have to say, this is what I'll expect. This is what I want. This is what I'll tolerate. And this is what I won't deal with. When I sat in front of the director of HR and I realized that there was really no progression for me here, I was forced to look elsewhere. So again, going back to the preparation and the hiring process, understanding what your employer wants. If your employer wants you to listen to your boss, then what means more to you? Your pride or your job? Okay, now I could have sat there and said, okay, I'll go back to the drawing board. I'll come up with a list of things that he wants me to do and I will be a yes man. I just couldn't do that because of my pride. Now, if you came to me and said, hey, listen, there's a commentary gig for the UFC. Let me get the pen and paper out and what do you need me to do? Absolutely, because that's a job that I want.
Yeah.
All right. My expectations don't matter because I want the job. The only thing that matters is their expectations that I fulfill them. Going back to your point of the employer has enough power today to say that this is what I want. If you don't give it to me, someone else will. That's the current climate we're in.
Yeah.
And fortunately enough, when I had the conversation with the director of HR at the Hilton, I pretty much told him, I said, look, listen, this isn't a long-term career for me, and you know that I've got the skills that you want. But if you're not going to
so
put me
annoying
there,
in that process where, as you said, you were honest, you were asking, which again, putting my employer hat on.
yeah,
That's exactly what I want out of an employee. If someone came to me and said, hey, look, I enjoy working here.
Yeah.
The current job, I think I'm more qualified. I think I can do better. What else? What do I need to do? Does it mean I spend the next 3 months working in that job, but then 2 hours a week I can come work in the office or do it? And so I think that is the initiative you would want from someone for them to then turn around and just knock you down and be like, no thanks.
I'll give you this example. When we were hiring people to be new guards or even concierge team members, the chief concierge or my security manager would give me, hey, have a look at this guy's resume, give him a call, get him in for an interview. I already know what the company wants, and I'll be able to tell whether it's from a resume or a phone call, the way they speak, the way they dress, the way they present themselves. I'll already know right off the bat. And what frustrates me is that when you go to companies and you are honest like yourself, is they get greedy. And they either say, since you've asked, I'm going to open up the door so you can give me more. And I understand that's the way that business works, right? You have to pay your dues. But there does, and I think our generation and younger, we're more take, less give. Whereas our parents were all give or take what's given to us. And then by the end of it, you were rewarded with a promotion or with a pay rise or with whatever. We're not.
Yeah.
We want it and we want it now. So we'll go there. And if they say, oh, we need to do this and that, yes, okay, I'll do that. No, I'll go somewhere else. Yeah. And that's just the reality of the climate we live in. And I've seen it. I've seen guys come into interviews and they tell me, I've always wanted to work for Hilton. Ever since I was 7 years old, I wanted to be a security officer for the world's leading hotel chain. No, you don't. I'm looking at your profile photo. You just got divorced and you got 2 kids to feed. Don't lie to me.
Tell me the truth. Yeah.
Tell me the truth. But I think that's the climate we're living in. And I think if there can be an open discussion between employee and employer, you'll find that middle ground. Yeah. But it's just so competitive out there at the moment.
It is. I guess like the dating process is that you want to be honest, but not too honest. And you end up with this thing of it's a wrong fit. And it's if everyone in an ideal world, which I know is not the world we live in, but in an ideal world, everyone's honest to say, this is exactly what I want. What I want to do, this is what I like. Yeah, it's a hard one to navigate.
No, everyone's got their manager's hat on. Everyone's drinking the corporate Kool-Aid.
Correct.
It's, and this is probably why I haven't really progressed in the industries I've been in, is because I never really wanted to sit at that table. Yeah. I don't make that money, but I work the hours I want. I get paid the wage that they pay me, and then I'll find other ways to make up that financial gap. Yeah. But I am getting to a point where I need to make up that gap, which is why I'm coming to see you.
We're in the right place.
We are.
Next topic I want to talk about, or next section, was that managing that transition. And I guess from my side, working with clients and seeing the good and the bad of how that transition can go, there's a couple of things like the financial aspect of stopping a job to starting a job. Yeah. What's that time frame? Do you go without? Is there a 2-week gap that you're not getting paid from when you last got paid to when you do get paid? There's a lot that goes into it, which I'm not sure if everyone fully anticipates. And obviously there's that transition of potentially moving to a different job where I have to actually move house. And there's obviously there's a bigger aspect. But I think just that planning that change is an interesting one, because a lot of people, there's the contract side of, understand the contract, understand what you're going to get paid. But I had a conversation with someone the other day. They were saying, I'm just about to change jobs in 2 weeks' time. And she said there's a gap between about a month from when I stop my job to when I start my new job. And she said, I'm taking a little bit of a holiday because I haven't had a holiday in a little while. And she said, I'm going from getting paid monthly to then getting paid weekly, which is like, this is great.
Stoked.
But is this a month gap or is this a 2-month gap in pay? So there was a month gap in job.
Yeah.
But was it a month gap in pay or a 2-month gap in pay?
To when the payroll picks up. Yeah.
And she was like, how do I find that out? I was like, one, read your employment contract to see when you get paid. And then she's like, I'm nervous. She's like, it doesn't say, it just says you get paid weekly. I was like, is that getting paid on a Monday or is that getting paid on a Friday? Because her last job, say, ended on the 15th of last month. She's not starting this job until the 15th of the month after, but then she's not going to get paid until the following Friday, because that's when the payroll runs. So now we're like 6 weeks. So she's thinking I've just got a gap of 4, but it's actually a gap of 6 weeks.
So you got a budget for
that. So if we're living week to week, which unfortunately a lot of people do, a 6-week gap is huge.
It's massive.
Versus she was thinking it was a 4-week gap. So it's thinking about that transition. And my suggestion was, 1, read the employment contract. 2, just call HR. Oh, is that okay? I was like, yeah, it's okay. Call HR, say, hey, I'm starting a new job next week. Just want to kind of ask, when's pay run? Is it Monday? Is it Tuesday? Like, when do you process pay? How does it work? So what's your experience been with that of stopping and starting jobs?
I've been pretty fortunate in the sense that I've never stopped a job before I've got a new. For example, when I picked up the job with SeaWorld Cruises in sales and marketing, I was still working at the Hilton. And it was a very simple conversation with my boss saying, hey, listen, I've taken a new job. I'm only available Monday to Friday. However, I am available on the weekends. That wouldn't have changed if I'd have left the job altogether. And this has been my biggest advice, is never leave your current job until you've got a new job. Forget the guilt. Forget the company doesn't care. I'll tell you right now, these big, especially and I've had the privilege of working for big companies. They really don't care if you're looking for a new job. In fact, they probably know in today's climate, you probably are looking for a new job. Don't come out and tell them.
Especially when you update your LinkedIn, it makes it all pretty and looks nice.
Totally. Yeah, you got a new profile pickup and your current job's gone and you got new references. Yeah, no, they know. Especially in this climate. I would expect, even for me, when people came for interviews or I'm working with guys and I see on their search history Seek, or there's an email sitting there that they've applied for a new job. That's the reality. That'll be my first advice. Number 1, do not apply or do not take a new job until you have finished at your current place of employment. And what that does is that stops that gap. So you can then say, what is the start date for my new job? January the 1st. Okay. I go back to my employer and say, I have an announcement, everyone. On December the 31st will be my last day here at the Hilton Surfers Paradise. I am commencing a new job on January the 1st at Star Casino.
Yeah.
You've given them 4 weeks worth of notice. Okay. You've obliged your contract. You can work out that 4 weeks, or you can take annual leave or long service, whatever you want to take during that time. Okay. You haven't done anything wrong. So that if it's time to be honest, the only time to be honest is when you're about to leave.
Yeah.
Okay. Not at the beginning, at the end. You're honest at the beginning, you get 5 hours a week as a casual.
Yeah.
Okay. Be honest at the end. Hey guys, I picked up a new job. I finish on December the 31st. I'll be starting January the 1st. I will work right up until December the 31st. And that way you don't miss the pay cycle. Whether they pay weekly, fortnightly, monthly, that would be my first and most important advice. Do not leave your current job, even if you found a new one.
Yeah.
Make sure you give that buffer that you work and you finish one job and you start another.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, putting my financial hat back on is just planning, having some foresight, running the numbers. As obviously there's the part of what am I going to get paid? Yeah. That's an important one to really get to in a second. But yeah, it's having that planning ahead of knowing what that gap is. And then also factoring in any other changes of if you're working and live in Robina and you've got a job at Robina Town Centre, for instance, but now you're taking a job in Southport.
Yep.
Previously, the fuel bill was $20 a week because you could either walk to work or it was a short drive and drive 30, 45 minutes either to the city in Brisbane, that type of thing, which I've gone through a lot with clients is they've actually, okay, well, now the commute cost, it was previously cost me $50 a week to get to and from work each week on fuel. But now I'm catching the train and now it's like $150.
Yep.
So factoring that in is one that I feel like a lot of people don't do, is they just focus purely on the salary side.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, cool, I can get paid an extra $5,000 a year if I change jobs. But what they don't realize is they factor in the commute, factor in all those extra costs that they didn't really fully realize. And it's like, okay, what's actually, if it's purely the numbers, like job satisfaction, all that kind of stuff is another point, but it's actually understanding that to know, okay, making a fully informed decision and then planning ahead to say, okay, I'm stopping this day, starting that day, making sure my budget can accommodate that as well.
Yeah, exactly. And even if you get a 10 grand pay bump, if you're working in Logan, you're stuck in traffic for 3 hours a day. Yeah. That's the honest reality. So you're probably going to fill the car up 3 times as much as usual.
Yeah.
Okay. And then if you're moving house, I know what rent is expensive these days. So where's that 10 grand going? So if you're going to start a new job and get a 10 grand pay bump, I hope you love your job because that 10 grand is going to your expenses. So foresight financially and then time wise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Making sure that there is no gap in between. Don't give the company the middle finger and then go, I'll go find a new job. No. You'll burn through that real quick. And I'll tell you what, I've done it.
Yeah.
Because I did it when I left Seaworld Cruises. I was actually fired from Seaworld Cruises. I mean, fired from 2 jobs. Fired from Seaworld Cruises. And I wasn't working anywhere. I was still on the payroll at both the Star Casino and the Hilton. But there was a period of 2 weeks where I had to dip into the savings. I'm telling you now, it's always more than you expect. But I thought, I'll be sweet, $1,500, I'll be fine. No, I had to spend a lot more money during that time just to cover the distance between getting fired and then starting at the casino and the Hilton again.
Yeah. Interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Then negotiating salary and benefits, I think, is not necessarily focused on like the negotiating part. I think there's elements to that what tips you can give and what tips I guess we could give of negotiating how to get more salary and all that type of stuff. But the important thing for me, again, putting my financial hat on, is actually understanding what you're getting paid.
Yes.
So far too often I've had this initial meetings, someone comes in, they ahead of time before a meeting, they've sent through how much they're getting paid. I jump on quickly on the pay calculator, have a look. They tell me they're on $85K a year. What they tell me they're earning take home a week, numbers don't add up. We sit down and be like, hey, can you just confirm getting paid $85K a year? They're like, yep, like getting paid 85, that's what negotiated, all good. I was like, what you're getting in your bank account net after tax doesn't add up to $85K a year. What do you mean? It's like, jump on, show them, including or excluding super. This is one that far too often affects people. They negotiate, and that's such a big part of, okay, my current job is I'm paying $80K a year, new job's offering 85. And then you read the fine print, it's like, 85 including superannuation.
So that's 10%, so it's 78.
So it's less.
Yeah.
And then what they thought, they just spent this whole process, they've moved and they get to the new job and they're like, oh, I'm actually getting paid less, which is fine if you love your job and whatever.
Yeah.
But for most times people are moving to a job because they're either getting paid the same or getting paid more, but they forget to read the contract.
Yeah.
And what they're getting take home is less.
Yeah, totally. We had that same instance at one of my previous workplaces where, I'll share this with you, it was at Seaworld Cruises and...
Jeez, they're getting a good rap today.
Oh, mate, get into it. Yeah, go on a whale watching tour. My contract, initially, what was discussed with one of the owners was that I would be on 65 grand a year. That was the set terms. There was a verbal agreement, and then I rocked up to the interview and the contract said 55. And I went, excuse me, this needs to be changed. And I wasn't afraid to be honest because I was working at the Hilton anyway, so if they kicked me, I didn't care. But I gave him the contract and said, I just want to confirm that this is 65,000. He goes, no, it's 55. And I said, no, it's got to be 65. I can't take the job unless 65. He goes, no, it's 55, but we pay you super. And I'm just like, how much is that a week? And it was more than what I was getting paid at the time. And to be honest, I did need the opportunity. But if you're not switched onto that, like I was, then you'll just sign away. And I think that's what a lot of people do, is they just sign away and then they go, hang on, where's my 65 grand a year? You get 55 grand a year, you don't get to touch the other 10.
Super, yeah.
Or 10%, whatever it was, 60 grand,
Yeah.
whatever. So that's one thing I can say, is you definitely need to be onto it. And with my experience, had I not said that, I wouldn't have had that understanding. So now moving forward, if I go and apply for another job and it says 100 grand super not included, then I know I'm only getting paid 90 grand, which is still pretty good. Yeah. But at least another thing you'll see on Seek is there might be opportunity for commission. There might be bonuses included. There might be a car, laptop, travel. So taking all those things into consideration, the sum figure isn't just part of the negotiation. Yeah, okay, I'm getting paid 55 grand a year, but they gave me a car, they gave me a laptop, all travel expenses were paid for, and super was paid. So I was happy. But at other jobs, they might not even give you the chance to negotiate. They might just say, here it is, take it or leave it. Yeah, I don't know if that ties in with what you're talking about.
No, definitely. Yeah, far too often from my side of clients, we go through this process. I want to change, or I am changing. Can we compare the salary? And it's exactly that. So far too often people just compare the headline salary, 100K versus 90K. I'm going to take the 100K job. And then we said travel, all that kind of stuff, but then allowances that come into it as well. So under the 90K job, there's no allowances, maybe included super, maybe it didn't really matter. Under the 100K, it's 100K plus you get a car allowance, plus you get your phone, plus the travel, plus commission, all that other stuff adds up. That's like your current job, you're having to pay your own fuel, you're paying your own car, all that kind of stuff. So there's so much else that comes into it that unfortunately a lot of people just look at the headline rate. I'm offering you 90, I'm offering you 100, I'll take the 100, thanks for coming. And then it's not until the first paycheck, you've just gone through the whole move, you've quit, all that kind of stuff. And then you get there without reading the fine print and you're like, oh shit.
Do people actually do that?
Unfortunately.
Listen to this podcast. It'll save you 40 grand.
Unfortunately. So yeah, I said negotiating that type of thing, we can probably leave for another day, but it's just understanding, as I think you've raised a good point, was understanding what you're willing to do, what you're not willing to do, clearly reading the contract, understand what you're going to get paid, the roles, responsibilities, the expectations, the culture's a hard one to know unless you know someone working there. It's hard to be like, hey, in the job interview, you could ask that question, am I expected to work overtime? Yeah. But you're not going to know until you're a couple of weeks in, this is the expectation that it's 5 o'clock, I'm ready to go home, but everyone's still sitting at their desk working until 6, 7.
Not me. Ta-ta. See you tomorrow.
All right, I think that wraps up today's episode.
Thank you so much. I've learned a ton, and I'm sure our viewers have as well.
Excellent. Thanks, Nira.